At the People's Palace, also known as the National Assembly, members of President of Alpha Condé's ousted government arrive after being summoned by Guinea's coup leader Lieutenant Colonel Mamady Doumbouya. Behind closed doors, he demanded their passports and told them not to leave the country. But Doumbouya also said there'd be no witch hunt as he outlined a path forward.
We will start consultations in order to put a framework in place for this period of transition, and then a government of national unity will take over.
On Sunday, when President Condé was driven away from the presidential palace in custody, crowds chanted freedom. It was on these streets that Alpha Condé had ordered security forces to fire at protesters with live rounds. Scores were killed and almost 400 people were arrested.
We
were really in a savage state. There was no more security, no more justice, a confused financial state. Everyone was doing whatever they wanted. So I think Doumbouya's arrival is a blessing for Guinea, because our mothers were on the streets like animals, our children killed. You have no idea. I am relieved.
Guinea's vast mineral wealth includes the world's largest reserve of bauxite and ore refined into aluminum. The takeover triggered world condemnation and sent global aluminum prices soaring. Half of China's imports of the element come from Guinea. Despite this mineral abundance, the West African country remains one of the world's poorest states. Doumbouya says the corrupt economy must be overhauled.
We will not give you a history lesson today, but I just want to remind you that our country has suffered from the disreputable behavior of its so-called elite. We found ourselves in a situation of injustice and corruption. Nepotism and the deprivation of freedoms were commonplace.
For Doumbouya in Guinea, the pressure is on to explain how he will begin overturning a system he says has stolen from the people for too long. Nicholas Hawke, Al Jazeera.
Well, Paul Melley is a consulting fellow at Chatham House. He says the coup leader has significant challenges ahead.
Well, he's clearly saying all the right things now about a transition, about an inclusive political approach, reminding people of the need for the reforms, all the governance failures of the past, all of that. But the real test is going to lie really in a couple of phases over the next few weeks. First of all, in his internal discussions, he's got to secure the acquiescence, if you like, of a broad tranche of the political class and civil society in this transition. And although a lot of people are expressing relief that Alpha Condé has been turfed out, that's not quite the same thing as signing up for all the details of the new transition. And then the next stage will be a difficult negotiation with ECOWAS, the West African bloc of which Guinea is a member, and which really has a pretty firm constitutional rule that soldiers cannot take long-term power by force. Occasionally there's been a democracy coup, but immediately ECOWAS puts very heavy pressure on the country concerned, on the soldiers who've taken over, basically to say we need a clear roadmap for a transition back to normal constitutional multi-party elections. It's not a given that the scenes of delight in the streets, people welcoming the end of Alpha Condé's rule, will automatically ensure real buy-in into the transition. And the transition has to look particularly credible in Guinea because past periods of military rule have been characterized by really awful brutality.